Shamrock said conditioning is his best submission hold. That's from Daniel Quinn. Yes, Frank Shamrock famously, guys, a lot of you guys never seen this fight. He famously fought Tito Ortiz. Now, when he fought Tito Ortiz, if I remember correctly, I think there was a 10-pound difference, which was huge. It's still huge today, okay? But it was I think it was even more. I can't remember the weight difference, but I remember Frank Shamrock being much smaller, okay? They battled. And Tito Ortiz back then was on the rise, and he was a bully. He was taking guys down. He was crushing them. He was smash passing their guards, crushing them, just bullying everybody. He fights Frank Shamrock in a 5-round fight. Now, Tito's doing good first 2-3 rounds. I can't remember what round it is. And at one point, he starts to break, starts to get tired. Frank Shamrock keeps getting up. Frank Shamrock keeps surviving this onslaught, getting ragdolled. Here on, he's getting thrown around by Tito. And then all of a sudden, we notice Tito starts slowing down, and Frank Shamrock starts to pick up the pace, and he's throwing punches, and all of a sudden the fight ends with Tito shooting on him, collapsing like a bad shot, and Frank's holding his head down and just punching him, and the fight ends, and Frank Shamrock wins the title, becomes UFC champion, and retires right then and there in the octagon. He retired at the top. He beat the best guy in UFC. He took his title, retired. It was a stunning, stunning win. One of the best UFC fights I've ever seen. And today, if I would go back and watch it, maybe it wouldn't seem that way. But back then, guys, those were the two best fighters fighting each other. It was a mega fight. For those of you who remember those days, you know, there was a UFC every few months. There wasn't a UFC every week like you guys have today. Like, you guys are spoiled. You have so many fights. For us, it was we wait months, 6 months, 5 months. We'd wait, and we'd get together and we'd watch UFC. I don't care if it cost $100, whatever it cost. We put our money together. We'd buy the UFC. We'd eat nachos, drinks, chips, you know, like we'd pig out and we'd watch the fights, man. We're all about the fights. Having hamburgers, whatever you want. It was a super excitement around the UFC. Now, UFC, it's every week. Can't keep up with them. There's so many fights. Back then, it was such a colossal event, a UFC. We used to have maybe 3 UFCs a year, guys. Sometimes, maybe, if we're lucky, it was 3. If we're lucky. Epic fight. And yes, then we started turning our minds more to conditioning. We realized how much conditioning can win fights. That was, I would tell you, the most shocking display of conditioning we had seen at the time. Because don't forget, at that time, fights would end fast, or they were super slow paced and boring. So they would get, a lot of them would be knockouts in round 1, submission in round 1, or they'd be like a 5-round snoozer. It did happen. There were a few 5-round snoozers where the guys didn't do much. You know, like a great example of that is Dan DeVries-Severin versus Frank Shamrock, one of the worst fights in history. They literally just danced around, didn't throw anything. They were just literally for 25 minutes. It was very, very little action. And you're not going to get tired just standing around doing this. Like, literally, it was one of the worst fights ever. Hey, I know you trained with Devon Larratt. When will Tristar Gym produce its first arm wrestling world champion? Also, what is your best ever snatch? I like your questions, Mike. Okay, guys, I love Olympic lifting. And the best ever snatch I ever did, I snatched a plate, so 135 pounds. Now, I'm not an Olympic lifter. I was doing Olympic lifting on the side. For me, that was huge. I wouldn't be able to do a plate today. No, I wouldn't be able to. But I was training with Pierre Roy. He's an Olympic coach. He trained Jack Demers, who got a silver medal in the Olympics. Then they got stripped by their silver medal because Jack Demers, he didn't pass the drug test. I was doing Olympic lifting, bringing one of my students, George St. Pierre, of course, and we were training Olympic lifting. We loved it as a workout, great for explosiveness, building the back. It's such a great workout. It's a fun workout too. You're dropping the weights. I love Olympic lifting. I have an Olympic lifting bar in my driveway. In the summertime, I do Olympic lifting, but I no longer try to go heavy. I just go for less weight, more speed. The most I ever snatched was a plate. And I'll be honest with you guys, the first time I snatched a plate, I tweaked my back. I wasn't ready to snatch a plate. We were getting too competitive. I wanted to put up the numbers, and I had tweaked my back, and, you know, probably put a lot of miles on my back, but I shouldn't have. I was irresponsible trying to push the envelope, and you know what? Same thing happened to St. Pierre. He tweaked his body too, because we're always trying to improve our numbers, and we're lifting way more than we need to as martial artists, you know, like for us, because the thing is, you don't need to risk your max. You don't have to. Why? You're a puncher and a kicker and a grappler. You don't need to put up more and more numbers. That's just to strengthen your back for the sport. Of course, it's all ego and, you know, just dudes being stupid. What was your other question? When will I produce my own arm wrestling champion? I have it on video, me beating Devon Larratt. Okay, he might have let me win. He might have let me win, guys. I'll tell you something. Devon Larratt, for those of you who don't know, he's a multiple-time world champion arm wrestler, a freakishly strong human being. Look, I've wrestled with people bigger than him, but nobody ever stronger than him. It's insane. There's a video of me rolling with him online. One with narrative, one with no narrative, and narration. And the guy's a freak, man. He's so strong. It's insane. And he's trained. Listen, he's trained in judo. He's done jiu-jitsu. He's like equivalent of a blue belt. Okay, I know he went on. He grappled at ADCC for fun. They put him or was some other event. They put him and some other guy, some other fitness, like a 200+ pound fitness superstar, YouTube superstar, and Devon just took him down and subbed him. And Gordon Ryan was cornering the other guy. I think the guy it's weird because his name was Juji something, because I have Juji Club, so it's stuck in my head. And Larratt just mopped the floor with him, mounted him, tapped him. Then they wanted to go again. He just took him down again, mounted him, and just crushed him. The guy, he knows judo. Devon Larratt knows judo. It's insane.